Hey boys and gerbils, National Preparedness Month, days 7 and 8. You might notice this is on the alternate channel because the primary channel is getting absolutely schwacked right now because it must be election season. Throttling, bots, nasty comments, the usual. It's fine, we've been through this before 2020. So yeah, alternate channel is blue collar president for reasons just like this. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed because we may be doing content over here for a while. Anyway, days 7 and 8, National Preparedness Month. Day 7, waste. Waste. Waste not, want not, bear. Yeah, I'm not saying you got to throw out your mason jars after you use them. You should probably wash those things, which gets back to like water. We've already talked about water. 1 gallon per person per day. Not really. It's more than that. 3 to 5 gallons, honestly. 3 is a great place to start. And I know this, not because I think it, but because we've pressure tested it 45 times deploying grindstoneministries.com into disaster zones after hurricanes and tornadoes. It works out to about 5 gallons per person per day, including sanitation, which we'll touch on next. But waste. What are you going to do with the trash? Are you going to burn it? See, out in the country, whether you're allowed to or not, most people burn their trash. And then people also bury their trash or just find a hauler and throw their trash in it. I don't really recommend that course of action. But, freeze-dried food, Mylar bags. What about buckets, all that bucketed food that you put up? What do I do with buckets? I don't know. I don't have that all figured out, but I legit think I'm going to build a bucket castle at some point because build fighting positions with them. Stack the buckets 3 high, burn some dirt up in the front of them, make a little L shape. Cool. Tarp fly over the top. Awesome. Yeah. Waste. People don't really think about it. What else is waste? What comes out of your rear end? That's something a lot of people don't think about. Where are you going to poo, bro? I know it's not sexy, right? Like Daniel Defense doesn't make a toilet. If they did, a bunch of it. The new $9,000 Daniel Defense DD Mark II 14 toilet, bro. People would be all over that. In fact, if I was them, I would make one just cause. But I'm not. Where are you going to poo? Remember the toilet paper craze of COVID 2020, I believe it was? And do you have hand soap and sanitizers and all of that? Like, you should probably research composting toilets and figure that out. And where you put your composting poo needs to be at least 100 yards away from where you prepare your food, which again gets back to like, it's gonna suck being in the cities and the suburbs if things go sideways, like it for real. Because if the electricity goes out, then not only does water stop working, but wastewater treatment, aka the septic/sewer systems, stop working too. And depending on what your elevation is on the topo map, you might end up with your neighbor's poo coming up out of your toilet. That's just gross. Which gets us to sanitation. It's another super sexy thing. Bravo Company doesn't make bleach. Eberly stock doesn't make scrub brushes, but if they did, people would buy them. And I got nothing against Daniel Defense or Bravo Company or Eberly stock. Good stuff. But some bleach, some scrubby brushes, some bars of soap to wash your dirty ass with. Just basic stuff like, what's this? Fingernail, toenail trimmers. Is that a prep? Yeah. Dude, you ever go for a ruck with a bad toenail? Keeping your fingernails short enough that you don't have stuff stuck underneath your fingernails. Because people tend to touch their faces, right? That's why, in med kits, we put nitrile gloves in there because if it's wet, not yours, don't touch it. Because even the nicest people on earth are still gross. They're still nasty. And I don't want your fluids in here, and you don't want my fluids in there. Flies, fingers, feces, that's how people get sick, generally speaking. Major vectors for disease transmission. And so flies, wherever we're putting our composting toilet compost needs to be far enough away from where we're preparing food that things that land on shit don't land on our food, right? Fingers, what did you touch, right? And put it in your face and your mouth and that bleh. And then feces, poo. And you need the ability to also clean your tools, which actually goes back to water. Like, can you clean your pots and your pans, even if it's just a canteen cup or a camp stove or your knife, right? Like, you need a way to keep those things clean, sanitized. There's something too, all this hand sanitizer that like apparently every company on the planet produced somewhere around 2020 for some strange reason. It's basically rubbing alcohol and jelly. Cool, that's a pretty good disinfectant. And so having topical disinfectants, good to go, because flies, fingers, feces. And so waste and sanitation, not sexy at all, but something you should really think about. Do you actually have the stuff for that? Because if you're preparing for the long haul, hell, even the short haul, you know, the power, when the wind turbine stopped turning in Texas, right? And the power grid stopped working for what, 10 days, 2 weeks? 2 weeks without a shower, 2 weeks without soap, 2 weeks without toilet paper, 2 weeks without a place to poop. It starts getting a little rough. So, but especially in a long-term protracted situation, you know, grid down, balkanization, you know, large-scale civil unrest, asymmetric warfare, unrestricted warfare, the Chinese, the Russians, the Martians, the Pleiadians, whatever, pick your poison. Dude, where's your waste going to go? Your personal waste that comes out of your body. And wait a year after you compost the waste that comes from your body before you put it on food, because it'll make people sick if you don't. But the waste of prepper consumption, both from your body and from your Amex card, and then also sanitation. How do I keep me clean? How do I keep my tools clean? How do I keep this place clean? I mean, forget decon. Like, if we have like a real plague, like a real one, you know, everybody who's running around with their prepper gas masks for nuclear, biological, chemical, radiological threats, like, okay, where's your decontamination suite? Oh, yeah, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So, things to think about. Waste and sanitation. Day 7, day 8, National Preparedness Month. Here on the alternate channel, Blue Collar President. If you're not subscribed to BCP, you should be, because the entire reason it exists is times like this when Bear Independent is being throttled. Because it's election season again. Don't worry, the freest, fairest elections on planet Earth. You got nothing to worry about. Also, let's limit voices speaking truth and propagandize the entire planet. Appreciate y'all. Share these. That's what they're for. Y'all have a blessed day. Shaloha.